Welcome back, viewers, to our episode number 38 of the Young Turks Dialogues, a podcast series started by us in the same time last year. And today, as we mark our 1 year, we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Dr. Sulbha Arora. She has worked with No IVF Clinic for the last 9 years and total of 20 years of experience in this field. So, Dr. Sulbha, how are you feeling to come on this episode and talk about the topic that we have been discussing?
Hi, Anmol. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I feel so honored to be a part of this platform. Congratulations on completing a year on it. And I am very happy to be here because, as you have so kindly introduced me, I am a fertility specialist. I'm a gynecologist who has been exclusively practicing fertility medicine, reproductive medicine for the last 20 years. And even though fertility treatments are not new, the first IVF baby was born in 1978, which is now almost 46 years. But still, even today, there is a great need for awareness. There is a need to talk about this much less talked about topic. And not just that, we do find that unfortunately the incidence of infertility seems to be on the rise. That is why it's even more pertinent to discuss it, to speak about it, so that people can be aware, people can get the help that they need.
Right. So, as you just mentioned that the incidents are rising, so why the incidents are rising? It is because of food, or what it is. Right.
Well, the main factor is the impact of lifestyle. Now, if you see globally, it is seen that 1 out of 6 couples struggle to conceive. But in certain countries, in certain urban and metro cities like Mumbai, the incidence can be as high as 1 out of 4 couples who are struggling to conceive. There are many factors that have led to this rise. The main is the delay in childbearing. Now, in today's day and age, career and education are as important for the woman as they are for the man. No longer, is it like in the previous generations where one partner could go out and work and the other one could look after the house. In today's society, we need to be able to do everything, and because of that, family planning, procreation takes a backseat. Now, if you ask in our parents' generation, all the women, how old they were when they conceived their first child, most of them will give you answers like 20, 21. I think even 25 was considered too late at that time. But fast forward to today, who is even getting married that early? Most people
Right.
are not marrying or planning a child till post 30. For a woman, the peak fertility is in her mid 20s. After 30, there is usually a drastic decline. Now, why this happens is because, as opposed to men, see, men produce sperms. They may produce less or more, so you have low sperm counts or high sperm counts, but there is a constant production going on throughout life. On the other hand, there is no way that women can make eggs. We don't produce eggs. We are born with a fixed number of eggs, and then, like a 100% battery where you don't have a charger, this number starts reducing right from birth till it's going to become very, very low and then become zero. So, due to the impact of lifestyle, first of all, the peak, the maximum quantity and quality of eggs is in the 20s, early and mid 20s. After that, it starts to take a toll. But also, what we're seeing now is that the stage where women should reach in their 40s, where they are down to their last few remaining eggs, we are seeing women in the 20s already reaching there. So you can say it's
Oh,
like premature aging of the ovaries. I'll give you an unrelated example. It's like women come and tell us, but I'm only 25. What do you mean that my ovarian reserve is low or I have less number of eggs? I mean, that should happen near menopause. But the aging process differs from one person to another. Like the unrelated example I was talking about, it's like white hair. It's a part of the aging process, right? But you see, some
yeah.
people might have white hair at 25 or 28.
Yeah, even I have one right now.
Exactly. And some don't till they are 50 also. So,
Right.
similarly, some women in their 20s can reach a stage where the ovaries have aged, even though they are otherwise fit. And some women well into the 30s might have younger ovaries because, again, it's an aging process. It's different for everyone. Not just that, because of the number of chemicals in our environment. So studies say that we are exposed to more than 20,000 chemicals. It's in everything we eat, we drink, and we breathe. And these
Mhm.
chemicals do have, deleterious effects on multiple health aspects. So when we're exposed to so many chemicals, we see a very major impact on the quality and quantity of the sperms and the eggs, because these are delicate cells, they are growing cells. So there is a very high incidence of male infertility also. You can say 40 years back, the average sperm count across the world was 100 million. But today, the average sperm count across the world has reduced to 30 million. So we've seen these changes across the years. So it's not just, a delay in getting married, you don't find the right partner, a delay in childbearing because you have other priorities at that age. Apart from that, there is also the stress. I mean, our generation is so stressed out. Stress
Right.
plays a very big role. It can wreak havoc with your hormones. And due to stress, then there are unhealthy habits like binge eating. So there is obesity. There is, lack of exercise. It's a sedentary lifestyle. There is an increased dependence on substance abuse like smoking. A lot of people realize that smoking causes cancer, but not a lot of people realize that smoking reduces the quantity and quality of sperms. It faster ages your ovaries. So there is a faster depletion of your ovarian reserve. It can increase your risk of miscarriages as well. And more, we are seeing smoking commonly, not just in the men, but in the women as well. So these are all the factors you can say that have really led to quite a significant increase in the incidence of people who are now struggling to conceive.
Wow. Whatever you told, I didn't knew at all, and even in biology, this was never taught. And
Yeah, that is
imagining,
exactly that's exactly the fact. People that don't have the awareness, which is why they don't realize that you think you have time, but we don't realize
right,
when we run out of time. Or people will read on the internet or hear from here and there and come with half information, which is more dangerous. Like women
right,
will come and ask me that, but I have read on the net that you can give me tablets to grow my egg or injection to grow my egg. So what do you mean that the number of eggs is now low and it cannot be increased? So, for example, when we use these tablets or these injections in your treatment, we can grow the size of the available egg. We cannot increase their number. So, that is an impossibility. Coming and saying that, can't you increase the number of eggs I have? That's like saying, I'm 37, but can't you make me 23 again? It's that impossible. It cannot be done.
right. And considering what all factors you just told, like stress, eating habits, obesity, these are, I think, at peak. Because seeing, even taking my example, sometimes I am stressed, so stressed. My friends are so stressed. Some of them they smoke, some of them they drink, they do binge eating, they don't eat food on time. Though I am still among them, I do fitness, I go to the gym every day, I try to eat healthy. But seeing some of my friends who are very obese, they eat a lot of junk food, they are living
Yeah,
on it, and they
yeah,
are living in metro cities on
yeah,
top of that. So
yeah.
they are already smoking. Like if you are in Delhi, so I heard that it's like breathing in Delhi, it's like smoking
Is
a pack of cigarettes.
exactly, it's exactly like I said, it's the chemicals are in everything we eat, drink, and breathe. So like you said that smoking has a major impact, stress, junk food. So now what happens is that if you pick up even like a bottle of ketchup and read the ingredients, it will mention things like class 2, class 3 preservatives. What exactly are these things? They're chemicals at the end of the day.
Right.
So if we decide that, okay, let's not have packaged food, but let's try and have more fresh food, but it's in the soil. So, for
Right.
example, pesticides or DDT, their use in the soil is so rampant. It's more rampant than what is actually recommended. And this gets absorbed into the plants that we are eating. And at the end of the
Right.
day, we are eating more chemicals than nutrition. And it's the same with the non-veg food you eat as well. The parts of the ocean where the industrial toxins are dumped, these toxins get concentrated in the fish who live there, and then we eat those fish. So we're
Right.
only eating the industrial waste actually that went and got concentrated in their bodies. Now, this is causing hormone disruptions. It's causing an increased incidence of infertility. It's causing an increased incidence of cancer. The parts of the ocean where the toxins have been dumped, all the whales have cancer. And obviously, we don't call it a disease. It's only an orientation, but it is also causing an increased incidence of homosexuality. And I'm not saying, with a stigma against it. We accept people of all kinds of orientation, but the thing is that everything in the body is due to chemical reactions, including orientation. So they have found that in the parts of the ocean where the industrial toxins are dumped and they're concentrated in the bodies of the fish, the birds that feed on the fish, they find that male birds and male birds have started making nests and living together. So this is called endocrine disruptors. They disrupt our endocrine system so that the endocrine system starts behaving differently compared to what it was originally designed to function as.
Yeah, I heard a story somewhere a crocodile in USA, uh, the mother gave birth, without any male partner. So
Yeah,
I was shocked.
yeah.
What is
That's
happening?
that's that's right from Jurassic Park, right? That's what happened in
Yes,
the Jurassic
yes,
Park
yes.
first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
fiction very often mimics fact. So I guess
that,
it is possible. Another problem is sleep disruption. So we have something called a circadian rhythm, where the body responds to the natural daylight and darkness cycle, and our hormones are tuned to that. So, if this circadian rhythm is disturbed, they've found by doing research that late night shift workers, for example, nurses who work overnight shifts or air hostesses, they have found a higher incidence of menstrual irregularities, difficulty in conceiving, and even miscarriages. So, that sleep cycle is so important that you're getting your 8 hours of beauty sleep, as we call it. It doesn't matter if you have slept at 2 a.m. and woken up at 10 a.m. No, that sleep only 8 hours is not enough. It is important to sleep when you should be sleeping, maybe by about 10 o'clock, and wake up when you should be waking up. That is maybe around 6 o'clock. That is when that circadian rhythm also has an impact on your body functions, including your reproductive function.
okay, this is something that I heard from my physiotherapist as well. So I had this cervical problem and I had a problem with vitamin D and B12. So she told me first thing you should correct is your sleeping cycle because you sleep at 1 and then you wake up at 7 or 8. It does not make sense first of all. And as such a young kid, your bones are getting thinner. So I
Yeah,
told
yeah. So it
it is
see, it's
all
premature
relatable.
aging because your body is not getting a chance to undergo the repair that it undergoes during an adequate or an appropriate sleep. So it's very good to see that doctors are now becoming more aware of the lifestyle habits that can impact your health, in what ways they can impact your health, and the need for correction. So we don't necessarily directly start off with very advanced or expensive treatments. We start off first with lifestyle modifications that are required.
Right. So, with all of this understanding, like chemicals are impacting, our environment is impacting us. What are the general psychological struggles or emotional struggles these patients go through? Because right now, most of the people who are watching, they are 25 or 25 to 35 between this segment, and somewhere in their life, I don't say that it happens, but what if it happens? So, what are the emotional and psychological effects that this brings in? Because it sounds so stressful. I don't know in reality what it will be.
Yeah, so it does take a very high emotional toll on the person or on the couple, you can say. First and foremost, as you said, it's a very young audience that is watching. One message that I'd like to give them is get your fertility assessed. Don't think I'm 25, I have all my life to do it. See, what happens is that I told you your ovarian reserve can decline faster in some girls. In the 20s itself, you might reach a stage which is near to menopause as far as the number of eggs is concerned. It's very, very simple to do a test to find out what is your current ovarian reserve. And fortunately, we have options available. So, right now, you may not be thinking of planning a pregnancy or starting a family, but someday you will. And at that time, we don't want you to feel this psychological burden that Anmol just spoke about. What happens is that in a country of ours, the population may be so high, highest in the world, but still, this is a country where there is so much of emphasis on fertility. The pressure that people feel comes not just from family or from society, it's a pressure that they internally feel as well, because there is an inherent desire in most people to have children someday. Not necessarily everyone will feel it, but some do. And you people who don't feel it right now, they may feel it as time goes by. You can't predict how you will be feeling when you're 40. I have so many 40-year-olds coming to me and saying, all along, I never wanted a child, but now I do. And now I have no eggs left. So, how can I do it? So, egg freezing is such an excellent option. People should really be considering it while the eggs are good enough to freeze. Women come to me for that option when they've already reached 40 or crossed that. Very few women who come to me in their late 20s and early 30s, which is the right stage to do it. Now, we're talking about the psychological burden. Yes, each step of this journey can evoke very intense emotions, whether it is the initial spark of hope and excitement when you're embarking on this journey, or say, you hit a roadblock where it didn't work out, handling the dejection, the disappointment, and God forbid if you've conceived and then ended up with a miscarriage, because not every pregnancy may go to term. That trauma, that loss, that grief, and that heartbreak, it's very difficult to go through. It's very difficult to go through cycle after cycle after cycle of this. Not just that, sometimes husband and wife may have different opinions about certain things. They may not see eye to eye. Their expectations may differ. The woman is going to be on a lot of hormones, so she's anyway going to be edgy. Her tolerance levels might be a little lower. Things that normally don't make a difference might make a difference in that situation. The man may not be able to understand that. Very often men can go to work, and put their mind, distract themselves. If the woman is working, she can do that as well, but if the woman is a homemaker, she doesn't find too many outlets to distract herself. So it can lead to strain on the marital relations as well. But here is where, we encourage people to come forward and seek the support. There is a lot of support available. In fact, given the right kind of guidance, given the right kind of support, this journey can even help to enhance a marital relation, because it's a partnership, it's teamwork. So it can even
Right.
bring the husband and wife closer. It can, build resilience. You're in it together, so it can actually help to enhance that bond as well. So yes, there is a huge psychological impact, there is a financial impact, and for people who are struggling with finances and when their treatment doesn't work out, it further increases the emotional or the psychological burden, because then they start wondering, now what next, how do we manage next? All these are, it's a complete roller coaster.
Well, you are totally right, and now I relate, and especially the audience will relate why our parents and people around us keep on asking, when are you getting married? When we start to become 23, 24, and why they keep on pressurizing. I think what you just say, it all makes sense now, because why go through all the emotional and psychological stress when things can be done on the right time.
Yeah,
So
and the stigma. See, India is a country where there is so much of variation in cultural, backgrounds and communities, in people's thought processes, in their upbringings. So, in the urban cities, we usually find couples who have their own struggles and stress as far as their high stress careers are concerned. Added to that, they know that they are already at an advanced age, but then at the same time, there are communities where infertility is still a very huge stigma. It's still considered a barrenness. And unfortunately, the whole onus of infertility is still placed on the female partner. Sometimes the problem is with the male, but the couple can't go around justifying to the family that there's no problem with her. Even if the problem is with her or with him, it's not their fault. It's like, if you have a fever, should anybody be judging you for getting a fever? So nobody should be judging them for not having a child, but unfortunately they do. They come to us, they break down, they cry. I've gone through a lot of fertility struggles myself, which has placed me in a position where I completely understand what the woman sitting in front of me is going through, because I have felt it too. and because of which I believe that I'm able to provide them a safe space where they can vent, they can have an outlet where they are being understood, not just
Right.
as a doctor, but as a woman who's gone through this, who's able to empathize with them and understand where they are coming from, or guide them about, things that helped me, that, you could try this and things like that. So there are times when people have come from their villages and, cried and told me that we can't go back to the village till we don't conceive, because we can't hear the taunts, वो ताने हम सुन नहीं सकते, हम वापस ही नहीं जाएंगे. You feel so bad. Your heart really reaches out to such couples, and you want to do whatever you can to help them, not just medically but at a human level as well.
Right. Yeah, no, like it must be very tough on these on the people who are your patients or are coming to you for guidance, and especially like how I see right now with the people that are with me. So we get stressed very fast in just a bit of work situations now, and of course the generation that is coming, they are more sensitive, I will say, because I experience in the daily working environment with them. If I say something, like our parents, they know what basically kolu ka bail banda, doing the art. Now things have changed, and when something like this happens, I it will break.
Yeah.
So like why not you share your experience, what it was 20 years ago when you started, and how the industry has transformed now.
Oh, in a lot of ways, a lot of innovations have taken place, a lot of advances have taken place on the medical front. So, 20 years ago, when we started, when IVF used to be done, the woman needed to take almost, 20 or 25 days of injections to be able to reach the stage of egg retrieval. Plus, the injections were mostly given using intramuscular or a root, which is a slightly thicker needle, and the pain factor would be slightly higher. But fast forward to today, the protocols have changed. They've become a lot softer and a lot more patient friendly. So now all they need is 10 days of injections, and these are
Okay.
mostly given using subcutaneous needles. They're the very thin needles. It's like how diabetes patients take insulin every day for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
It's a very similar needle, and here it needs to be taken only for 10 days. So, number one, it has become much more simplified. Every step we have strived to make it as pain free for the couple as we can. This is something that I often, assure the couples who come to me, that parenthood is a pleasurable journey. At no point should it become a painful one. So, our whole focus is to providing that holistic care and ensuring that we handhold them through it. Other than that, earlier what used to happen is, once the egg has been extracted and fertilized with the sperm, it actually reaches the final embryo stage, the blastocyst stage, after 5 or 6 days of growth. But 20 years back, the culture media used in the dishes, the incubators, the laboratories were not advanced enough to allow it to grow till there. Maybe after day 2 or day 3, they would have succumbed and not grown at all. So embryos were transferred at the day 2 or day 3 stage, which is ideal, not the ideal stage to transfer it. What happens at that stage is that, see, every egg that you get from the ovary is not going to become an embryo. Our biology has been designed like that. Some of them will stop growing. That's why we start with multiple eggs, so that we have a few embryos in the end. But by day 2 or day 3, many of them are still growing. Now, since we don't know which one or two will go ahead, at that day 2 or day 3 stage, doctors used to transfer multiple embryos, like 3, 4, 5, 6, hoping that one or two would click. And then that would put the patient at a very serious risk of having multiple pregnancies, triplets, quadruplets, because what if all of them go and click? We don't know which one or two will. Now
Right.
we don't do that. Now we have the technology to take it up to that blastocyst stage. So it is better to wait, so that, the ones that were defective or weak have already stopped growing. And then you have the choice of the best one or two to transfer. So it has become much safer on in that aspect, also much safer in that aspect, where you don't land up with transferring more than one or two embryos at all. So you don't land up with triplets, quadruplets, etc. So
Okay.
that's the changes that have taken place. Then, there is vitrification, which is freezing. That means extra embryos can be frozen. They were frozen earlier also using a slow freezing technique where most of them would get damaged and they would not survive. With the new freezing technique, any egg or any sperm or embryo that you freeze has got almost 100% chance of survival. So if you extra embryos and you froze them, supposing your first attempt didn't work, you don't have to go through the whole treatment again. Your extra embryos are already frozen. You just have to transfer them. Again, that's a much simpler procedure. So you see, all these research has been done just to make sure that number one, their chances of conceiving in one attempt itself become as high as we can, and number two, and mainly that becomes a very safe and simple procedure for them.
So, like everything, it takes time. This also took time, and based on the research and all the hard work of all the doctors, now the industry has transformed and things have become a lot easier for the patients.
Yes.
Right. So, like, why not? Like, I didn't ask this question earlier. I should have asked this earlier. How did you got into this field? What made you, got into this field 20 years ago? What happened?
I
You know,
actually landed up in this field quite by accident because when I finished my post graduation, that is my MD, I was supposed to join as what we call a post MD registrar in a multi speciality hospital where I had filled up the form and I was hoping to join. But on the date of joining, when I went there, I got to know that that post had been given to somebody else for reasons that I don't know. I assume, due to some contacts that lady must have had, but I'm not sure. That post was originally supposed to be given to me, but it was given to her instead. So I was left with no hospital attachment. I have finished my MD. What do I do now? So I came home and I cried for 3 days and not knowing now what to do because for the next post, the forms would only come out 6 months later. So after 3 days of crying, my mother told me, let's stop crying and let's start going to all the private clinics near our house. Maybe one of the doctors is looking for an assistant. Why don't you work in a private setup and 6 months later you can join the hospital setup again? Actually, things worked out better for me this way because when I went and met my mentor, Dr. Gautam Alabadia, he had his own IVF setup. He immediately said, okay, tomorrow morning we have embryo transfers. Why don't you come at 6 a.m.? And I just went and joined his clinic the next day, and the rest is history. It's been 20 years now that I've been doing IVF practice. At that time, 20 years back, it was a very bold decision to leave aside, your obstetrics, your antenatal, and get into something which was such a niche division,
right.
such a super specialty. But he did guide me saying that if you want to go back now into general gynec practice, after a few years, you will realize that it is the era of super specialization and then decide that now I want to do IVF. Why not start from now? And then you'll have that many more years of experience, which is how I stuck with it. I loved what I was doing. I, developed a passion for it. And now here I am 20 years later.
Wow, really interesting story. All the startup founders and marketers sitting sitting and watching this podcast will relate because we all started somewhere like this, and
it
you
did
know,
teach me
all
it
the
did teach me that when something happens that you are disappointed or dejected with, and you feel that the universe has shut one door right in your face, it's only because it's opening a better one for you. So we should just keep that faith. Yeah.
right, right. Yeah, and this happens. This happens. I totally agree with you. And whenever one door closes, God brings in so many more doors to you, and it's upon you what door you take and what to do.
Yeah, so
So,
back
uh,
then there were no specialized courses in infertility in India. There was no diploma, there was no fellowship. The only way you could learn was by joining a mentor. So that's where I landed up, and that's where my journey took me.
wow, that's amazing. And why not, talk a bit about your patient experiences? Of course, over the last 20 years, you must have many patients, but can you share a few of them for our audience? How your experience was with them, how their experience was with you? You know,
So
we,
it's been a very very rewarding journey, I should say, because Saving lives, of course, is very rewarding. Here in this field, we're not always saving lives, but we are helping them along in their journey on a path where they do tend to feel very alone, very lonely, and very stressed out. They're just looking for, someone who understands, a shoulder to cry on, someone who can hold their hand. I often tell my patients that, when they come and conceive and they come and tell me, it's all thanks to you. I always tell them it's not thanks to me. I mean, if it was thanks to me, then everyone would conceive in one attempt, but that doesn't always happen. So nature doesn't work like that. There are, forces more powerful than us. But yes, what I do know that I can do is ensure that this journey is as comfortable for my patients as I can make it. So the most rewarding experiences have been, when, uh, of course, I've always had the privilege of being called a godmother to thousands of children. But the few times when the baby was born and the couple came to me and said, "You name our child. And whatever name you decide is going to be our child's name." And that is such a huge responsibility and such a big honor, because this is a name they will carry for the rest of their lives. Every time
Right.
parents say it, they would remember me. And so, the responsibility of choosing a name that hopefully they will like, the child will grow up and like. And some of my oldest IVF babies are in college now and they're in different countries. And I still keep getting regular updates from the parents about, how the child is doing, the child's achievements. That just feels so wonderful. We've had some very difficult cases that we've handled as well. So it just feels it's just such an honor and such a privilege to be part of such a beautiful journey. They come to us so stressed out, they come and break down, they come and cry, they have no hope left. And then when they see that positive pregnancy test and when they deliver, it's a completely transformed person. Like there's suddenly so much of positivity and sunshine in their lives. It's a privilege to be able to see this, to be a part of it.
Right. It's like seeing light at the end of a dark tunnel.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So, like this, the thing that you just told, it's really heart touching, and really hats off to you. So,
Thank you.
like, why not you also tell about how patients are adaptive to the new technologies and the new things that are happening? Because, like, of course, every day R&D is happening, every day new things are
Yeah.
coming. So, like,
Yes.
let's say person A told the person B this is how it happened with me. Now person B comes in, so there is a thing already set in his mind, but now things have changed. R&D has done. So like what generally things happen is people say nahi uske sath apne ki हम भी ऐसे so what happens there basically.
Yeah, so that does happen a lot. Okay, first of all, there are a lot of innovations and a lot of technology in the field of reproductive medicine that is, it's mind blowing. It's really remarkable. I think one of the most mind blowing discoveries or inventions has been the technique of PGT, that is pre implantation genetic testing. So, what happens here is that. Say there is a couple where the husband and wife both have a genetic disorder like thalassemia minor. Now, a thalassemia minor person may never know that he has thalassemia minor or she has it. But if they land up married with each other, there is a chance that the child will be born with thalassemia major. Now, with thalassemia major, the child unfortunately doesn't have a very good prognosis. The child has to be on blood transfusions throughout their life. The average lifespan of such children is not more than 18 to 20 years. We had somebody in the family who survived till 32, but then tragically we lost him because back then PGT was not available. Now, what you can do thanks to PGT is that you have the husband's sperm and the wife's egg, the embryos have formed. You can actually test the embryos to find out which embryos are free of thalassemia and then transfer the unaffected one. So you give them the chance of having not just a baby, but a healthy baby, which is so important. Now,
Right.
similarly, PGT can be used for other things like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people getting married later in life and planning a baby. As the mother's age increases, the likelihood of certain chromosomal disorders increases as well. If there is a chromosomal defect in the embryo, it could either lead to a miscarriage, or it could lead to a baby who is affected with, for example, with Down syndrome. So what happens is that Down syndrome babies are, they are kind of special needs children, and
Mm.
for parents, it's like it's our child. We will love our child with all our heart. We will love it and support it, but the fear remains that after us what? This is may not be a person who will independently be able to live a life just like everybody else does. In some countries there is a lot of professional support, and they can actually do jobs, but in a lot of countries that kind of support still doesn't exist, unfortunately. So at the embryo stage itself, if you can find out which embryos are not affected with chromosomal abnormalities and then only transfer those, then your chance of having a healthy child are that much better. If you find out during pregnancy instead of finding out at the embryo stage, then you're faced with the very difficult decision, the dilemma of continuing the pregnancy or terminating. It's again an emotional stress, because here is a child that you've conceived, you're already parents to it, but to be able to take the very harsh decision that because this is going to be a special needs child, to be terminated, the child could actually be born live and live a life, or do we continue? So instead of having to face that dilemma at that stage of pregnancy, it's better to find out before and transfer an unaffected or a euploid embryo with normal chromosomes, so that you don't have to face these harsh decisions. It's your child is healthy, and the parents are also more capable of looking after the child, having a healthy family. So these things can be tested at embryo level. That is what PGT does. So that's one thing. The other thing is that, like you said, that yeah, inke saath hua, hamare saath hoga. Some of the examples, it's like when that movie Good News came out, and
Mhm.
everybody was concerned that kisi aur ka to nahi hoga, hamara hi sperm hoga. How do we know that? And
Mm.
things like that. So that's where another technology called RI witnessing comes into the picture. In any case, we've always had a double witnessing system. Double witnessing means supposing there is one embryologist who's, taking the eggs of the patient and injecting the sperms. There has to be a second embryologist standing there to witness the labels on the dishes and ensure that it is the correct one, and
Okay.
sign on the document that I have witnessed this. But RI witnessing takes it one step further. So what RI witnessing system does is that a barcode is given to every couple. And now on the dishes and on the test tubes, that barcode is, the sticker is put on everything. So supposing by mistake you have picked up somebody else's dish, the minute you place it, there will be a signal that this is the wrong dish, so that you're immediately alerted. So with
Oh,
the, if you combine double witnessing and RI witnessing, you absolutely minimize, I can say even eliminate the chance of a human error. So this is also one of the things where we got patient feedbacks, and we realized how much more important it is to reassure the patient that these systems are in place and there will not be any mix-ups.
okay. This is pretty interesting to know. And I think our audience, for this, for you all, this is very informative because you are in the right hands when you are going to a doctor.
Yeah.
It tells. So, like with all of this, are there any ethical implications whenever someone comes for an IVF treatment or something?
There
Con-
are a lot of ethical implications as well. Let's see. For example, a lot of people come and request us for a specific gender child. Now, this is not legal in India, and there are, like, personal feelings about it. So, for me personally, I don't find it ethical either. So, we always absolutely refuse that we can plan a pregnancy for you, but the gender is up to nature. It's 50-50. It could either be a boy or a girl. There are equal chances. That's one ethical thing. Then the other ethical thing is, like I said, that where clinics are still transferring multiple embryos, where you transfer 3 or 4 or 5 embryos, then there are chances that all of them may go and click. If you've transferred only one or two, sometimes one may click, sometimes both may click. Now, the human uterus has been designed to carry one baby. It's not like a litter of puppies or cats where they have got different pouches inside their uterus where multiple babies can be housed. We don't. Our uterus has got one room. At the most, it can expand and accommodate two. But if you have three or four, then the pregnancy will not go all 9 months. There's a very high risk of miscarriage or very early preterm. So in these cases, at the third or the fourth month, something called selective fetal reduction needs to be done, either that or carrying all of them to term. The selective fetal reduction means you stop the growth of one or two fetuses and bring it down to just one or two. Again, if you can follow the guideline of transferring just one or two embryos and not more than that, then that's a much more ethical way of going about things. There are other ethical problems that we might face, some especially when you're using, you need to use either donated eggs or donated sperms. Uh, Sometimes a couple might come and request us that we'll go ahead with this, but don't tell my wife or don't tell my husband. Tell them it's ours only. So that is not something we can ever do. It's absolutely inappropriate. So we always tell them that, we need the husband and the wife to know if it is going to be a donated egg or a donated sperm. Both of them must give us a valid, written, informed consent. They are parents. They have the right to decide. If one is not okay with it, you cannot do it. But of course, if they request privacy and confidentiality from the rest of the family members, we are happy to not share information with the others, but the husband and the wife need to know. So that is again, one of the things where ethics comes into play. You absolutely have to ensure that you can't keep secrets between the husband and the wife.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. And I think all the checks of good business are taken care of. Transparency is there. There is
Oh,
security.
transparency is very, very important. It's very important because, see, right from the beginning, when I do an ultrasound scan, I will turn the screen around and show it to the woman and show her how many eggs are visible. So she knows how much her ovarian reserve is. Throughout the treatment, we keep showing them all the scans. Even as far as the finance counseling is concerned, in the first visit itself, all the charges are explained till the end so that there are no hidden charges. They don't like, now I'll say that okay, we can do IVF in only this much. You don't have to spend much. And then every visit, it's like, okay, this much for medicines, this much for freezing. Not like that. Everything should be explained right at the start. That transparency is very, very important.
Yeah, transparency, confidentiality, every part of a good
Yes.
business has been checked. Especially like this is a very empathetic thing and that you are doing and something that is related to life. So that is there.
Yes.
So I think this is something really good about this industry. So I had know one thing like the balance between business models and ethical medical practices, ensuring accessibility and empathy remains at the forefront. So this was one of the pointers that I had.
Yeah.
So would you like to explain on this?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So now, see, I work as a part of a corporate. Uh,
Yeah,
See, business is important for everyone, whether corporate or private, because if an institute is not profiting, the institute cannot expand and provide more care to the
right,
patients. The pursuit of our patient satisfaction, improved patient outcomes is always at the forefront of any business decisions that are made. So, business
right,
decisions are made not only from the point of view of profitability, but from the point of view of enhancing our patients' experience, of giving them a positive outcome, increasing their patient satisfaction. So that is where your hospital administration comes into the picture, sensitizing the whole team. It's not just me who needs to have compassion. When the patient enters the clinic, they're going to be meeting so many people, right from the front desk, sorry, to the assistant doctors, to the nurses. All of them need to be sensitized. They all need to be on the same page so that they're not giving conflicting answers, confusing the patient, no loose words here and there. So, a discipline of the team is very important. Marketing is so important. Marketing is a part of the business profile,
right,
right? But if you don't market, already I said that there is a lack of awareness. If you don't market, how do you make more people aware about it? So business forms a part of it, but the purpose of business is only to increase the patient's satisfaction, to make the treatments more accessible to them, and to improve the chances of them having a positive outcome.
right. Makes a it is really awesome. I will say that keep it because of course a business has to make money as well to doctors are also working day and night for the patient, for the well-being, and
And
you are
see,
taking
then the other thing is that, say, in a corporate like Nova, we have the cutting edge technology as far as, our techniques, our procedures, and our equipment is concerned. We are able to provide that because the business model is strong as well. If the
right.
company profits, it can get better technologies. If the company profits, see that, for example, the embryology lab environment is very, very important. It's crucial to the survival of embryos. We are able to provide the best technologies, the best incubators, the best air filters because the business model is strong as well. So both go hand in hand. One cannot survive without the other. So if the business model is strong and they are able to provide such high end equipment, in the end, it is benefiting the patient because it increases their chances that they will get pregnant in one attempt and they don't have to go through it multiple times.
Right. So for startup founders and marketers who are watching, this is really, really important for you guys. And as I always tell, your business model should be strong and it is applicable everywhere. Because if your business model is not strong, you cannot move ahead with even doing anything about your business. Business model is the core, and it hence again it proves on our podcast. We have shared multiple case studies about this. So now talking about the success stories and the human impact, because this is something that makes a lot of impact on humanity. It is of course there are success, there are failures, it's everywhere. So let's talk a bit about the success stories and the human impact.
We have so many success stories in the last 20 years. People who came to us absolutely shattered, with no hope, with having gone through many, many years of struggle. And then they finally found that light at the end of the tunnel, like you said. One very recent case of mine, the lady came to me where she had already three miscarriages before coming to me. And the age was also on the higher side. She had done a few simpler treatment options that hadn't worked, and then she decided to do an IVF. The first IVF, I had discussed, a few of the advanced tests that we can do in view of the previous three miscarriages. Initially, they weren't keen on doing too many tests. They just wanted to try an IVF. We did one. She conceived, but unfortunately, there was a miscarriage again in spite of that. Then I really sat with her, explained the importance of the advanced tests. I said, let's check your and your husband's chromosomes, your husband's DNA fragmentation index. These are things that can cause miscarriages. And we also need to evaluate your uterus from inside to make sure that there is no scar tissue or, adhesions inside the uterus, which can be causing the miscarriages. Also, I explained to her the importance of PGTA, the pre-implantation genetic testing. So this last cycle that we did an egg pickup for her. During the egg pickup, since she was already under anesthesia, we did a hysteroscopy, which is a procedure where the uterus is checked from inside with the help of a camera. We did find some kind of scar tissue, which we cleared out. The embryos that were formed in that cycle, we did a PGT testing. In the next month, we prepared her uterus and transferred one PGT chromosomally normal embryo, which then clicked. Well, she had had four previous pregnancies also, so we were keeping our fingers crossed that the few initial weeks go by where every time in the past it had not gone further than that. It went ahead very well. All her antenatal ultrasounds, the baby's growth were fine, and now she has entered into the fifth month of pregnancy already. So this is one of the cases recently where we find that the advanced technologies did help, and where she had come with such a traumatic history is now finally, touch wood, halfway through her pregnancy and doing very, very well. And then as far as the human angle is concerned, there's one or two cases that I will never forget. In This is many years back at the previous clinic where I was working. This couple went through two or three different kinds of IVF cycles, but they all failed. The woman's age was slightly older, so they finally did an attempt with donated eggs and the husband's own sperms. That failed. They took a break for a few years, came and met me here at the new clinic. Here we decided to do an embryo adoption cycle because they thought maybe even the sperm is giving rise to weak embryos. Even that failed. And then they finally adopted a baby girl. And when the baby girl came home, tiny little infant, 3 or 4 months old, they came to the clinic with the baby to meet me. And they said that in honor of our little Lakshmi coming home, we have kept a Mata ki chauki, and you are the godmother. And unless you come, we won't even light the jyot. And I was so touched. And I said, all my treatments failed, and still you're giving me this honor. They said, it doesn't matter. The outcomes are not in your hands, but you were there for us when no one else was there for us. And you know that I still have goosebumps remembering their words. So that tells you the importance, the value of a human connection when anyone is going through suffering, when anyone is going through trauma, all the more when somebody is going through a journey that is this difficult.
Right, right. Yeah, it is. Even I am getting goosebumps talking to you and reading these stories. I think our audience will get the same. So yeah, that is it. And like this would be, I think, one of the major factors for everyone at No IVF Clinic to be motivated every day and come to work and not make it feel like work. I think this is one of the major factors,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
absolutely. I've always told my team right from the start when we started 8 years back, we had initially we had few patients. Touch wood, now we have got a peak where our clinic is always packed. But initially we had a few patients. Even then, I used to tell them, you don't worry about the numbers, the patients will come. But every single patient who comes to you should go back thinking, I am the only patient in this clinic. That is the kind of, attention, focus, VIP treatment you need to give every patient, that no patient should feel ignored, neglected, or unattended to. That should be the quality of care that you should aim for. You aim for the quality, the quantity comes. That's another thing that you can tell your startups probably.
Yeah, yeah, this is very, very important. These days, people focus on the rapid growth, but in that process, they always forget about the quality.
Yeah,
And I always tell people on our podcast from the things that are happening in the startup ecosystem that you should not run behind funding, rather than you should focus on building a business that provides value to your customers,
yeah.
not take their money and run away, which sadly it is happening in the industry and it is happening openly. I think soon people will start to realize this and things will change, but this is the current scenario, and that's what we vouch on our podcast for the few businesses, small business, though they are small, but they are working hard every day to create value for their customers, and they are doing very well. So
No, there are no shortcuts to
yeah,
success. If you get impatient and you try to take a shortcut to success, that ladder will be very small. It won't go too far. And on the other hand, if you focus on the right values, on taking care of your customers, you are there because of your customers. You exist because of them. So like they say, customer is king. That's the focus of your whole work. As long as you take very good care of them, the rest falls into place. And it's not just the customers. In fact, it's even more important to take care of your team, because your team
right,
takes care of the customers. An unhappy team cannot
exactly.
take care of the customers. So you have to ensure that not just your customers, your team is very happy as well. Be empathetic towards their problems also.
Right. And like now, as there has been a revolution in the industry, many new people are becoming job makers and they are working towards their passions. So why not you give them some advice on the upcoming healthcare startups? Because healthcare startups are coming now. There are a lot of things happening. Even a few startups from Dehradun, like one is Pandan. They have created this small ECG machine. You connect from your mobile, you put it here, and it gives you 99% accurate results. So companies like this are coming. So what is your advice as being in 20 years in this industry to companies like this in the healthcare sector? How they should be like you have already told that in India we always welcome our customers, we treat them as our god. In Tata culture book, it is clearly mentioned, Atiti Devo Bhava. Government has picked that up. The new government has come in, but what about the healthcare startup? What do you suggest? What are your opinions on it? How this ecosystem of healthcare startup can grow further? What are the key pointers they should take care of? So this is the last thing we are going to be discussing in our podcast. So why not you share throw
Well,
some
there
light?
is a lot of potential for healthcare startups in the fertility space as well. Everybody is too busy right now to even think of getting a fertility assessment done. As
Right.
such, people are too busy to get a general body health checkup and an ECG or their cholesterol levels or their blood pressure checked, which they should be doing at least once a year. Fertility is on a lower priority, but just like you have a regular screening for all your other problems, you go, you get your full body checkup done. There should be a regular screening for your fertility assessment done as well, because that will decline with time and people don't realize that. So, somewhere maybe having a startup or an app where people can put in all their factors, like, what is their age? What is your age? What is your BMI? Do you smoke? What is your antral follicle count? What is your AMH? And then it calculates and tell you how is your fertility. Is it already low? Is it good? Then it gives them an idea of whether they have time to wait, whether they should look at either conceiving soon or preserving their fertility by doing an egg freezing or by doing an embryo freezing. So those are things that can help, because that would be at their fingertips. They don't have time to go to doctors. Other than that, for people who are already going through the fertility journey, having a holistic care space, like, most IVF centers will provide you with the IVF care, but patients have so many questions. What can we eat? What about our exercise? Can I do this? Can I do that? We always try and address all their queries. But if they have a holistic space where the nutrition can probably be tailor made as per their preferences, are they veg, are they non veg, what kind of requirements they have, what are their blood test levels, so something can be chalked out for them that during your fertility journey or during your pregnancy, this is the diet you can follow, these are the exercises you can do, maybe offer some yoga for relaxation. Then it provides them an even more complete care that
It's
might be beyond the scope of most IVF clinics to offer yoga also and nutrition advice
right.
also. Yeah,
It will be a 360 experience basically.
exactly.
I think this is a good idea for startup founders who are watching this. You can capitalize on it. I can say this is a good startup idea. You will be helping the community and you will be building something valuable in this world.
Yeah.
So I think this is
Also,
really,
they can also, like, see, for example, uh, offices or corporates where there is a lot of female staff, contacting them, raising awareness about the decline in fertility, explaining to them about egg freezing, about how harmless it is, how it is an investment for your future. This is also something, because the awareness for this is largely lacking, with the women.
yeah, I think
What
like
happens is that, if they have landed up freezing their eggs while the eggs are still healthy, then it gives them complete autonomy over their life choices. That pressure of the biological clock is gone. They don't have to compromise on their life or their career. They don't have to get married to somebody who is not ideal for them just because time is going by. They can wait till they found a suitable partner, that someone they're going to be happy with, till they are mentally and financially ready to welcome a child in their lives. So egg freezing actually has a very big role, but again, the awareness for that is very low. So, probably like contacting the corporates, spreading the awareness about this, that's another idea that can be taken up.
right, right. This is pretty interesting because people are talking about finances now going into the companies, but nobody is talking about health, and
Yeah,
especially health is something these days. Everyone of us is suffering something of the other thing because of the chemicals, of course, that are going in my body.
yeah,
But yeah, if we aware people about it, I think this will be a game changer for the whole world, I will say.
yeah,
Now, as we have talked about all these things, and the last point you told about, uh, you know, uh, even these days, people in my circle who are in their 25, 26, 27, they are talking about, oh, I'm not able to find the right partner. I need to get married early. So I think this is for you guys who are, not able to find the right partner, but, still be on the safer side of things. So one question that just came to me because people in this age bracket talk very proudly of, but I think even when the food hurts us, so people take some pills these days, to cancel out the pregnancy, especially in the younger age. So how that impacts, the fertility of a person? Because
As in,
people
are you talking about
around
the
us,
contraceptive pills, the birth
yes,
control
yes,
pills? No, birth
yes, yes.
control pills don't actually impact your fertility at all. So the month you take it, you won't conceive. Next month, if you don't take it
Okay,
again, you have chances of conceiving.
okay. People have a lot of confusion around it, so I think this clears it up
Yeah.
because there are a lot of conversation in this age bracket about it. So
So, it's not just the emphasis on education and fertility, but the easy accessibility of contraception also. That is one of the contributors to delayed childbearing. This is not necessarily a bad thing. I don't mean it in that way.
right,
There should be easy access to contraception because
right,
if the woman needs to delay her childbearing, then it is always better to take a contraceptive rather than landing up with an accidental pregnancy. And
right.
otherwise, today the contraceptive pills are very low dose contraceptive pills. They don't have high doses of hormones. By and large, they are safe for most women to take. The incidence of side effects is very low. And the fertility returns immediately in the next cycle once it is stopped.
Okay. That is great. So I think it answers all the questions I had. So this episode was really great, though we crossed our time limit, but I think this would be really valuable for the audience, and especially considering we have a really good audience base who watches our episode to till the end. So thank you, Dr. Sulbha Arora. I will say you shared a lot of wisdom that we as young people don't know, and now but we know and we can take the right decisions at the right time. So if you would you like to add something as we end this episode?
Well, I would just like to add that, yeah, be mindful of the biological clock ticking, but don't let the pressure of that build up for you. There are priorities. Don't let guilt set in. We have couples who
Right.
come in feeling guilty that when we were young, we didn't try. I always tell them because at that time, your priorities were different. It was not possible to try. It's not also possible to bring a child into a household where the couple is not yet financially settled. Life choices will differ. They will differ compared to our previous generations. So don't be harsh on yourself, don't be guilty, but yes, do follow healthy lifestyle habits, and you get a fertility assessment done from time to time once a year, so at least you are aware if there is action that you need to take now before it gets too late. And even when you're going through the journey of trying to conceive, remember that support is always available. Support is available in the form of your primary care doctor, her team, her nurses, her counselors. It is also available in the form of patient support groups. Then there are people who come from families where they do have a lot of support from their spouse and their in laws. Always find ways to reduce your stress levels, whether or not you're trying to conceive. Stress management in today's day and age is so imperative, and sadly, we're just heading towards a more and more stressful life. And there are so many
Right.
ways to reduce your stress. Mainly, just do whatever it is that makes your soul happy.
Right.
Life is short.
Life is short. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true. That is true. So, on that note, I will end this episode. Thank you so much, our audience, for watching in this episode number 38. We will be coming back with more episodes. And if you like this episode, do comment down. You have any questions? I will put Dr. Sulba's Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, everything in the description. You can always reach out to her. She is there to help you out. So, and thank you so much again, audience, for watching in. And we will be back with another episode.
Thank you, Anmol. It was a pleasure being here.
Yeah.